Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel. Suicide is now the second leading cause of death involving college-age young adults. Kathy Harrington reports about the unified effort to prevent suicide on campus. Soup's on for a group of seminarians. And Dan Dumas brings us the latest news from the Diocese of Springfield. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. The energy, the newness, and excitement of the start of the academic year filled the Westfield State University campus earlier this month. Then, just days after classes got underway, came the report of a student death on campus. It was determined to be suicide. Suicide is now the second leading cause of death involving college-age young adults. Kathy Harrington reports now about the unified effort to prevent suicide on campus.
It's the start of a new academic year, and it's filled with promise. But for some students, this is a time filled with high anxiety.
Anxiety is our number one presenting concern, and that's across the nation. You'll see college counseling centers are seeing more clients now than ever before.
Counselor Tammy Bringazi, the director of the Westfield State University Counseling Center, says one reason is all the change happening in the lives of students.
They're coming to a new school, they're oftentimes living with a stranger. We put them in a smaller, relatively small room with someone that they've never met before. We change their meals, we change their schedule, they change their sleep habits, so everything is new.
One of the things that chaplains here at Westfield State do, we actually have as a priority helping our students to take care of themselves, emotionally and spiritually, intellectually and physically. So a lot of what we do is geared towards prevention.
Father Warren Savage, director of the Interfaith Center on the Westfield State University campus, calls the rising incidence of suicide among college students an epidemic. 6 years into his work on campus, he has dealt with multiple suicides and attempted suicides on the Westfield campus alone, and says often it is the result of a lack of a connection.
I went to college many, many years ago, but we didn't have a lot of information overload. We didn't have cell phones and iPhones and iPads where we were constantly connected to something that kept feeding us. We had more outlets in terms of community support. We had family support. We had friends that we could talk to face to face.
Feeling disconnected can lead to depression, and lacking coping skills to deal with the anxiety, a student may seek help at the Interfaith Center. Those are signs of potential suicide, says Father Savage. Each of the chaplains has dealt with suicide with the families and the community in their own congregations, and they are on the lookout for the warning signs.
So when they come here, we have a whole table of experience and wisdom to share with the campus community.
Father Savage says students are referred to the counseling center, but contact is maintained to help to ensure a sense of belonging to community. That's key, because when a suicide happens, the ripple effect reaches far and wide. In May 2017, the Westfield State University commencement ceremony. It was a day to celebrate. Randy Lemenager was a co-valedictorian, an honor student committed to service, a leader on campus. Randy was the definition of how to be inclusive.
It happened, after graduation, but we had a memorial service for her name was Randy, and her family came up from Peabody.
Randy was living at home, preparing to begin her teaching career in her hometown when she died. Her mother says maybe Randy was so involved with making sure everybody else was okay that she lost herself, and she may not have realized the effect her life had on so many.
And we had 350 students at the Memorial Mass, which we held over in Scanlon Hall. And we used that opportunity to educate, to help people to kind of walk through this. You know, this is a very traumatic experience for not just for the family, but for the students of her class, the campus community.
Randy's friends are carrying on her legacy. Wearing tie-dyed shirts, they take part in the fundraising walks to draw awareness to suicide prevention and mental health issues. Her mother says suicide needs to be spoken about more, that there's a stigma when someone needs help. Father Savage agrees.
Imagine that issue alone, it's hard to talk about. What's more difficult to talk about is the remedy to suicide, which at its essence will be spiritual. There's a longing for God, there's a longing for fulfillment, a longing for joy and happiness. But again, that's all faith too. And so we try to make sure that when we approach suicide prevention, that we don't dismiss the spiritual underpinnings, meaning there's something spiritual here that we have to take care of, because it's the illness of the soul. It's the spirit that is crying out for help.
Students seeking spiritual support on the Westfield State University campus find it at the Interfaith Center, where the doors are never locked.
Anybody who's looking for companionship and friendship, well, there are people here to offer you that. Anybody who needs a space just to come and reflect and pray, well, this place is open to everybody. You don't have to have any tradition. You just come and sit, and this is open 24 hours, 24/7. We don't lock this place ever.
Efforts throughout the year to educate students, faculty, and staff about suicide prevention happen in many ways, beginning at orientation.
We do training with all the RAs, so the resident assistants, and we actually do a suicide prevention workshop called QPR, which is Question, Persuade, and Refer. It's a gatekeeper training for anyone.
Training so that in a crisis, the community is aware of the resources available any day, any time.
We have a set of protocols that we all work with. We have 3 main departments that work after hours in crisis. So we have campus police, we have residential living, and then the counseling center. And we all play a role in that. And it's all about working together and how we can best support the student at that time.
Connecting early on is important, and the counseling center finds pet therapy is successful. 10 to 12 dogs will visit the campus green, drawing even the most disconnected of students to stop.
I will see students that I know struggle connecting. Maybe they're a little more shy or introverted, and then I see them out there with the dogs, and again, before you know it, you're petting the dog and you say, "Oh, do you have a dog at home?" "Yeah." "Oh, okay. Hey, where do you live?" Starting a conversation, and it comes more natural than going to the dining commons and sitting next to someone and starting a conversation.
Father Savage says companionship and friendship are ways to take care of one another.
Because when we have those things, then we can live a much richer and fuller life.
And we won't despair.
We will not despair. No matter how rough it gets, I can carry on knowing that somebody's with me. Somebody loves me enough to hang in here with me.
For Real to Real, I'm Kathy Harrington.
For the family and friends left behind by a suicide, there is help. Father Chris Aller of the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception at the National Shrine of Divine Mercy has written a book titled After Suicide. The Catholic Church also has the Emmaus Ministry for grieving parents and offers 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 weekend retreats. We have more at iobserve.org. And still to come on Real to Real, Dan Dumas has the latest news from the Diocese of Springfield, and a group of seminarians getting some life skill lessons. These stories and more are still to come on Real to Real.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Scanlon, inviting you to take time out of your busy day and join us Sunday morning. We welcome Father Robert Gentile as our Mass presider and celebrate the 26th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The Chalice of Salvation this Sunday morning at 10 on WWOP 22 News, and coming up next on Fox 23, Albany WXXA.
Hi, Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
Butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I didn't care what they grew up to be as long as they were happy. To give up marriage and children just seems like too much to walk away from.
He seems to think he's making a real difference in people's lives, and he's so happy. Isn't that what's most important?
I never would have imagined our son as a Catholic priest.
Travel with Catholic Communications in August 2020 for the pilgrimage of the decade as we experience the Oberammergau Passion Play. Join Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky and Father Gary Daly for the spiritual journey to Germany and the village of Oberammergau. Since 1634, this famous play has been performed every 10 years in this quaint alpine village. Our 10-day pilgrimage will begin in Brussels, Belgium, and continue through Cologne, Heidelberg, Oberammergau, and Munich, Germany. With daily breakfast and dinners included, pilgrims will enjoy daily Mass in many of Germany's brilliant cathedrals and churches, a cruise on the Rhine River, a tour of Cologne's cathedral treasury containing the staff of St. Peter, and a visit to Munich's famous Glockenspiel. Book this incredible opportunity now for $5,439. For more information, go to iobserve.org.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel-to-Reel news briefs. Recognizing an unmet need in area urban schools, the College of Our Lady of the Elms in Chicopee this week announced a new initiative. Kathy Harrington reports.
I think that a lot of us who become teachers, we become teachers because we're inspired by others to become teachers.
The College of Our Lady of the Elms is partnering with urban school systems and Catholic schools in the Diocese of Springfield to create unique opportunities in education that will benefit all of Western Massachusetts.
This is one of the most exciting things I've seen in the field of education here in Western Mass in 30 years.
President Harry DUMAS says the innovative idea came out of one of his first meetings with the education faculty at the college.
This is one of the areas where we wish we would be more successful in building a diverse pipeline of teachers and school leaders for Western Massachusetts.
The mission of the Center for Equity in Urban Education is to help to fill the teacher gap in K-12 schools in positions such as special education, science, technology, engineering, math, and English language learners. The Sisters of St. Joseph, founders of the college, weighed in with a reminder of the need for social justice to reach marginalized students with diverse educators.
One of the goals is to try to get more folks in the community in their schools who are their teachers, right? And then these young people then aspire more and more to be teachers as well, because teachers are there changing their lives.
The college's specific agreement with the Catholic schools follows recommendations in the Pathways Report.
We want to work more closely with ELMS on teacher development, professional development, opening up a kind of a pipeline from our teachers into ELMS, encouraging them to come take courses here. Even thinking about offering courses uniquely in Catholic education and Catholic educational leadership.
Paraprofessionals already working in urban schools will be able to work on a bachelor's degree and pursue a teaching license. And the center will give working teachers the ability to pursue a master's degree in teaching. In Chicopee, I'm Kathy Harrington.
And you could read more about this at iobserve.org. In other news, earlier this month, a Sunday was set aside to honor grandparents, an occasion celebrated with joy at Our Lady of Peace Parish in Turners Falls. Steve Kiltonic reports.
On September 8th, which is recognized nationally as Grandparents' Day, Our Lady of Peace Parish recognized its own grandparents with a special Mass that coincided with the kickoff of the religious education program.
In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Father Stanley Aksamet wanted to formally honor grandparents because of their contributions as role models and spiritual leaders of the family.
We realize that the grandparents have a very important function in helping to raise children and passing on the faith. So we wanted to celebrate that. Pope Francis has spoken often about the importance of grandparents. A lot of the grandparents are the leadership when it comes to faith within families. It's grandparents who bring the grandchildren here, particularly if the parents have a very busy schedule. There are a lot of parents that are forced to work on Sundays now, so it's the grandparents who often take that parental role.
Prior to the festive 10 a.m. Mass, grandparents gathered in Father Casey Hall for a reception where they met their grandchildren's catechists and had refreshments while the kids created special cards. Gracelyn Tata, who was in this year's confirmation class, attended the Mass with her sister Kiara and grandmother, who helps her out during the week by dropping and picking her up at school.
I always go to church with her, and she's a big mentor to me, and I look up to her, and she gives me a lot of good advice that helps me with issues at school or how I'm feeling about certain things, or what I should do to handle them in a certain way.
All grandparents today are doing a lot more with their grandchildren than before because of the working conditions. Her mother has to work Sundays through Thursdays, so she's not able to bring them to church. So I felt that would be something that I wanted to be sure they experienced.
Gavin Mariani, also in the confirmation class, attended Mass with his brother, parents, and grandparents.
Our faith means so much to them, and it's important for them to bring it on to us and show us what it's like to be Catholic. So we've been doing this for a long time, and it's important to them and to us that we keep up the tradition.
During the Mass, grandparents participated with their grandchildren by reading and teaming up with them during the collection. Sean Connolly is a lifelong parishioner at Our Lady of Peace. He and his wife are grandparents to 6-year-old Cassette and 3.5-year-old Lily.
They're very precious to my wife and I. We do a lot with them and enjoy every minute of it. Doesn't seem to be as much pressure as there used to be when we were raising our own children.
Connolly said he's pleased that his grandkids are churchgoers and enrolled in the religious ed program.
It's a spiritual happiness that they're following in the religious footsteps that we did and that their parents did, our children, and that makes it very special to us.
Because of the great turnout, Father Aksamet said this may be the start of an annual event honoring grandparents.
All the grandparents are thanking me for recognizing them, and oftentimes they're the unsung heroes, and they don't particularly want a lot of attention drawn to them, but an occasional thank you for all they do is certainly in keeping with all that they do for us.
In Turners Falls, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Once again, this past August, Sacred Heart Parish in Feeding Hills offered a 2-day outdoor faith revival. Nick Morganelli was there for Faith on Fire 2019.
Hands were raised and voices rejoiced at the 7th annual Faith on Fire rally, which took place at Sacred Heart Church in Agawam for 2 consecutive nights in August. Hundreds from area churches attended for worship music and inspiring witness talks. The parish's St. Martha's Guild and the Knights of Columbus Council of Agawam offered food for purchase, which helped support the event. Live streamed from several cameras, all was visible around the world.
Invite him into your heart, into your life, this evening and beyond. Watch what he will do for you and with you.
This year, Deb Briancesco, the current pastoral minister of Sacred Heart Church, coordinated the event with her husband Pete. And it seems Sacred Heart has been blessed with powerhouse pastoral ministers. The whole concept began in the mind of Jean Raskowski, who was a featured speaker on the Friday evening session this year. Julie and Dan Pratz recall the idea in its infancy.
Well, the first year, we were the lay witness speakers, and that was brought on because we were on team, which we have been ever since, and that was from Jean, who did the speaking tonight.
So faith goes up the stairs that love has built.
The Lord put this on her heart to form this. She just kept seeing it happening and wanted like a big fire rally and praise and worship.
Come, Holy Spirit, let the fire fall.
It just fills us every year. We get put on fire in our hearts for the Lord.
It's a really good name, Faith on Fire, because that was the first time, we were really caught on fire with this function, meeting so many people from the faith of different parishes in this area.
Aren't you glad he's in your life?
See God touching other people and to see the joy on their face. Just to see them have the experience that we've felt before too, and then like someone, especially if it's their first time here, it's just amazing to see them walk away and go, I can't wait for next year.
Maybe it takes 20 years, but I can see this whole field one day will be filled with people searching for that spirituality.
We want a renewal. We want our hearts, everyone's hearts, to be on fire for the Lord, and that's our goal.
If we change 2 people, 1 person here tonight, it's a great leap.
Gentlemen that came back to the faith after 37 years, that just touched me so much. If that's one person's life that this rally changed, then this is all worth it.
How many of you want to go to heaven? What a show of hands. I'm watching. Everybody should have their hand up. Oh Lord, amen.
The Holy Spirit lights the fire in the hearts of our youth as well. First-time Witness Talk speaker Julia Rubin's message focused on the person of Jesus in our lives.
I wanted to have a more personal relationship with Jesus. I wanted to have a more intimate relationship with him, and I wanted to get to know him more. A message that I want everybody to know that Jesus loves you so much, and that his love is beyond we can even imagine. I come to the Faith on Fire meetings with my mom, and I participate in church, I altar serve and I lecture, and I want to help more in the church community, and I want kids my age to come closer to God. So I think that's why they picked me, so I could help inspire young people and just everybody here.
The power of God's forgiveness and spiritual healing changes lives at this rally each year.
It's so powerful. I think that a lot of people have come to know Jesus. A lot of people get a good message. There's great witness talks. There's great the priests have great talks about faith and love and hope.
The evening culminated with a procession of the Holy Eucharist, confession, and laying on of hands for healing and prayer. Praising God in Agawam, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And remember, you can always stay informed on all the latest news in the Catholic Church, locally and beyond, by logging on to iobserve.org. There you can read articles written by our Catholic communications staff, as well as view archived episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
You are watching Real to Real, your window on the world around you. Here again is your Real to Real host, Sharon Rulier.
Well, if you're looking for an inspiring event, the Greater Holyoke Deanery might have just what you're looking for. Joining me now is Father Robert Gentile, pastor of Blessed Sacrament Parish in Holyoke, to tell us about an upcoming 3-day mission sponsored by the Holyoke Deanery. Father Gentile, nice to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me, Sharon.
So, coming up this week, you will be holding a mission, Get the Real Story, featuring some well-known members of the media. Tell us all about it.
Well, we have 3 members of the media, Ray Herschel, Eileen Curran, and Nick Morganelli. And they're coming as people who have sat in the pews, who experience life on a day-to-day basis, who understands the daily challenges of being a faith-filled person in our world. It's a great opportunity for those who are coming to really kind of identify with them and really grow closer to their God.
And nice to see our former Real to Real colleague Eileen Curran and current Real to Real reporter Nick Morganelli sharing their faith-filled stories. Sounds wonderful. What are the dates and times, and is it open to all?
The dates are September 30th, October 1st and 2nd. The doors will open at 6:30. We will have music that's being provided by by 3 local groups, and everyone is welcome. If you have an interest, please come and join us. We'll have a great evening, a great mission. So please join the Holyoke Deanery mission.
All right, Father Robert Gentile of Blessed Sacrament Parish in Holyoke, I'm sure many in the area will look forward to your mission. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Sharon.
And if you would like more information on the Holyoke Deanery mission, we have a link at iobserve.org. Most seminarians take classes in spiritual and intellectual preparation, but some Indiana seminarians are learning more than theology as they are being trained to be self-reliant men, even in the kitchen. We learn more now from Catholic News Service.
I don't really know how to cook at all, and I don't usually cook, so yeah, I've learned a lot from this class.
These men are in formation for the priesthood at St. Meinrad Seminary and School of Theology in southern Indiana. They're getting a special lesson in cooking. The one-day class aims to evaluate and enhance their culinary skills.
It varies from year to year. Sometimes there's one or two that can barely boil water. And there are others who are very accomplished, have lived on their own, have grown up cooking, have learned to cook, love to cook.
So I'm just boiling it down a little more aggressively.
These men are on track to be ordained priests in 2020. After that, they will need to be able to take care of themselves in the midst of a busy and unpredictable schedule.
A typical priest nowadays, especially when he becomes a pastor, often he is serving alone in a parish, so he has to have a whole range of skills, people skills, collaboration skills, management skills, and even crisis skills because of the different things that might happen in the day-to-day running of a parish.
Last week we talked about like the electrical systems and water systems, and while I'm never going to be a plumber, it's good to know that, like, okay, if this pipe is leaking, what are some things that you can do right away so that it doesn't turn into a big issue?
Most of the classes at the seminary are focused on spiritual and intellectual preparation. But classes like cooking help to form these men as whole human beings.
The program for priestly formation that governs seminaries in the United States lays out human formation in this way: self-knowledge, self-acceptance, and self-gift, to help the person know himself and then accept what he learns about himself so that he can give his full self to ministry.
I mean, as human beings, yes, we have a soul, but we also have a body that we are asked to take care of it. It's a temple of the Holy Spirit. So it matters, like, okay, do we get enough sleep? Do we eat right? Do we exercise, or do we just spend our time sitting down and eating whatever we want? If your body's in balance, it will allow you also to keep your spirit, your soul in balance.
Now, those future priests will definitely be well-rounded for sure. And coming up this Friday, October 4th, of course, is the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi. On the eve of the feast day, the friars and secular Franciscans at St. Stanislaus Basilica in Chicopee will honor the Transitus, or passing of St. Francis, on Thursday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at St. Stanislaus Basilica, 566 Front Street in Chicopee. All are invited to attend, and light refreshments will be served afterwards in the school cafeteria. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, for more updates anytime, you can find information and news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, on our news and information site, iobserve.org. We also are on Facebook, updating daily while our reporters work on stories for Reel to Reel. Check us out and friend us at Catholic Communications. We will see you next week for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.